into America.
Keeping Hangout Fest safe.
This is something we've been planning since like Monday after Hangout last year.
The efforts to keep the good times rolling as thousands flood Gulf shores.
Abortion law under fire.
I think Alabama has gone too far.
Why so many people are sticking their nose into Alabama's business.
NBC 15 News at 10 starts now.
Protecting our borders, President Trump announcing today an immigration overhaul.
His plan tackles border security, building parts of his long-promised wall, and adding technology to ports of entry.
But the biggest change is which immigrants are allowed to legally live in the U.S.
We're proposing an immigration plan that puts the jobs, wages, and safety of American workers first.
President Trump unveiling his latest immigration reform plan, shifting to a merit-based system, prioritizing high-skilled workers while giving fewer green cards to immigrants with family ties in the U.S.
As a result of our broken rules, the annual green card flow is mostly low-wage and low-skilled.
The current system awards about 66% of green cards to immigrants with family ties, 12% based on skills. The president's plan would reverse that, creating a points-based visa system similar to those used by other countries.
Future immigrants will be required to learn English and to pass a civics exam prior to admission.
The plan faces an uphill battle in a divided Congress. Democrats say it fails to address millions of immigrants already here illegally, and the so-called dreamers brought to the U.S. as children.
Neither Donald Trump's grandfather nor my father would be able to come to America under this proposal.
In fact, some Democrats were against the idea before the president even presented his plan.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening. You're going to need bipartisan support. That means you sit down and talk to Democrats.
The president saying that if Democrats are not on board, he will wait until after 2020.
Tonight, people in South Florida are concerned about a plan to dump illegal immigrants in their community. Border Protection plans to send 1,000 immigrants every month to Broward and Palm Beach counties. Now, these are people who have come to the U.S. illegally and are waiting for asylum hearings. Border Protection has been overwhelmed with the surge of migrants at the border and picked Florida because many of the illegals said that's where they plan to go.
That this is a humanitarian issue. We understand that. But I want you to think through this for a minute. Is it humanitarian to bring people that have no real connection here, have no shelter here, have no way to provide for themselves from an area where at least they're being provided for now into another environment and release them with no means of transportation? To me, that's not humanitarian. We don't know what documentation the Border Patrol has to identify who they are and what their criminal background is, if any. And then they're just going to walk into the community. It's not a good plan. We think it's a danger to this community.
Palm Beach's mayor says the county may have to declare an emergency to deal with the illegals. Now, there were concerns here on the Gulf Coast last year of housing illegal immigrants. The Navy had an idea to house up to 25,000 immigrants at two small Navy airfields in Silver Hill and Orange Beach. Elected leaders from Baldwin County traveled to Washington to fight the plan, citing security concerns and safety issues in case of a hurricane. The Department of Defense decided to take our area off its list of possible sites. Our series Protecting Our Borders continues Monday as correspondent Laura Logan heads to New Mexico with an elite rescue unit that has been tapped to help overstretched Border Patrol agents trying to guard some of the most remote parts of the nation's southern border. You can see all of these stories in our exclusive Protecting Our Border series. We posted them on mynbc15.com.
New information tonight about two deadly crashes involving motorcycles. We have learned that 53-year-old Mark Brannon of Saraland was killed early this morning. Police say he hit a guardrail and was thrown from his motorcycle at the dead end of Inn Road right next to Interstate 10 at the Tillman's Corner exit. Investigators say he may not have realized he was on a dead-end road. This afternoon, a motorcyclist was killed on Hillcrest Road in West Mobile. The rider slammed into a car pulling out of the Heritage Woods subdivision. The names of those involved have not been released.
Breaking news, Alabama executed a man who slaughtered a family. The death sentence for Michael Brandon Samra was carried out tonight at Holman Prison in Atmore. Samra helped his friend Mark Duke murder Duke's father, fiance, and her 2 children back in 1997. Duke is serving life without parole because he was 16 at the time. Samra was 19. A Baldwin County teacher has been cleared of accusations he had sex with a student. A jury found John Hamilton not guilty today of having sex with a 12-year-old student. Hamilton, who goes by Danny, taught history and drove a bus at Central Baldwin Middle School.
New information about the big wildfire in Gulf Shores earlier this week. Baldwin EMC is blaming Mother Nature. The utility says Sunday's windstorm knocked down the power line that started the wildfire in Gulf State Park. A few businesses along Highway 59 were evacuated briefly. Firefighters were able to contain the fire in the park and put it out. Well, new tonight at 10, the biggest beach party of the year is underway with Hangout Fest kicking off tonight.
Yeah, tens of thousands of people pour into Gulf Shores every year. And as NBC 15's Corey Pippen explains, it takes a major effort for first responders to keep them all safe.
Public safety officials at Hangout Fest are constantly evolving their approach to safety, taking lessons learned from other large events worldwide and applying them here in Baldwin County. Tonight, the gates are open and Hangout Fest is back. But as more than 30,000 people descend upon Gulf Shores, ready for the big party on the beach, emergency responders are gearing up for the even bigger task of keeping everyone safe.
This is something we've been planning since like Monday after Hangout last year.
Sergeant Jason Woodruff with Gulf Shores Police showed us around the Public Safety Command Post today, a joint operation between local, state, and federal authorities, with hundreds of officers on the ground and drones providing eyes in the sky. The safety plan is confidential, but adapts to incidents or tragedies at other large venues around the world.
We get very detailed briefings on things like the Pulse nightclub shooting. Last year we brought in Las Vegas Metropolitan Police to do a debrief on the Route 91 shooting.
City officials say the event doubles down on medical response as well, with a mobile hospital and numerous first aid tents on site.
That doesn't tie up the emergency room at South Baldwin Regional Medical Center. It doesn't tie up ambulances to have to transport people back and forth.
Officials say much of what you see is through lessons learned over the last decade.
We're getting a lot more refined in how we do things and the type of deployment we have, the amount of agencies, help that we get to be able to make this as safe as possible event.
Officials are encouraging folks headed down to Hangout Fest to be prepared for a hot weekend. They say bring water and common sense, as law enforcement will be watching for illegal or dangerous activity. In Baldwin County, I'm Corey Pippen, NBC 15 News.
Yeah, they should prepare for a hot weekend and also, at least on one of the days, a stormy weekend. Here's the live pinpoint Doppler radar, just a little bit of stormy action up around Montgomery, the beach cam, Gulf Shores. The stages are set right down here as things are getting underway at the beach. The Hangout tracker tomorrow, 88 degrees. Yes, keep yourself hydrated. Saturday, just a small chance of any rain, 86. The better chance is coming in on Sunday. Coming up, we'll plan out your weekend and I'll show you how things are going to play out for Saturday, Sunday, and beyond. All coming up in about 10 minutes.
Tonight, Alabama's new abortion law continues to be the talk of not only the country, but it's getting noticed around the world. So many people think they should have a say in what our state decides to do.
And I think it affects the health and safety of women, not just in Alabama, but frankly all around the country, because it sends such an extremist message.
Maryland's Democratic comptroller wants economic retaliation against Alabama over the abortion law, asking the state's pension managers to review any assets it has here. Even Canada's Prime Minister looks down on what's happening in Alabama.
We are deeply disappointed by the backsliding on women's rights that we're seeing in some places around the world, including in some American states. As a government, as Canadians, we will always be unequivocal about defending women's right to choose, defending women's rights in general.
Even some big-name Republicans are having a tough time getting on board with Alabama's law.
I think Alabama has gone too far. There's no exception for rape or incest. It's an extreme law, and they want to challenge Roe versus Wade, but my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
But through it all, many Alabamians continue to stand with government leaders who think abortion is a crime.
Thank God for this bill that our governor signed into law. And I know that there'll be challenges, there's more work to be done. but through prayer and supplication, we'll let the request be made known unto God, and we'll trust in Him all the way.
The aim of the bill is to get the abortion issue back in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. For that to happen, the legal fight will have to work its way up there through the court system, and the High Court would have to agree to hear the case.
Well, tonight, friends and family held a vigil to remember local barber and mentor to thousands, Isaac White Sr. He opened White's Barber College on Martin Luther King Jr. back in 1960. NBC 15's Muriel Bailey is live there tonight. Muriel?
And Greg, Mr. White died at the age of 99, but you can see his shop still sits here.
Great man, a legacy.
A small group of those whose lives the late Isaac White touched gathered to share their memories outside his barber college.
I come in to get a haircut one time, and Mr. White told one of his students, said, what kind of haircut that you giving that gentleman? He said, don't give him no stump haircut.
In 1960, White designed and built the first barber college in the state of Alabama in Mobile. He trained thousands of African Americans.
Mr. White and I, as I said, we've worked together for so many years. And as you see, I'm still in uniform. I left my beauty shop to come here to recognize him.
Those who knew and love him say he's an icon to many across the city.
I got my first haircut from Mr. White, and he's just a well-known, well-respected man. I'm one that's going to always remember him and honor him as a real live professional African-American entrepreneur.
Mr. White's funeral will be Monday at 11 a.m. at Sunlight District Auditorium in Pritchard, and organizers ask that you line Davis Avenue afterwards for the procession. Reporting live in Mobile, Muriel Bailey, NBC 15 News.
Muriel, thank you. New at 10, the Alabama legislature awarded the 2019 Legislative Medals of Honor for law enforcement today. Mobile police officer Justin Billa, who was killed in the line of duty last year, was among those honored.
Your service is a reminder that the liberties offered in a state, in a free society, are not free. They come at a high cost and must be vigilantly pursued.
Tonight, I was honored to MC the Mobile Police Department's annual awards banquet. Dozens of officers were recognized for their heroic efforts over the past year, those who saved lives or were wounded in the line of duty.
In our busy lives, sometimes we forget to thank officers for the things that they do for the citizens of Mobile, and tonight I think was ideal for that, especially the week of Law Enforcement Recognition Week.
Tonight's awards also honored civilian members of the Mobile Police Department who go above and beyond the call of duty.
We cannot honor our heroes enough,
We
can we?
cannot, and they do so much to save our lives, and to hear those stories and how they put their lives on the line is just amazing.
No doubt about it. Well, just ahead, an NBC 15 special investigation into the forgotten storm, Hurricane Michael. We're digging into the staggering cost of recovery that keeps growing every day.
Plus, the fight for free speech turns violent on some college campuses.
NBC 15 is giving a salute to our veterans, and tonight we honor Seaman Colin Wright, who's currently serving in the U.S. Navy aboard the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan. He's from Saraland, and we thank you for your service, Seaman Colin Wright. Well, the cost from Hurricane Michael has climbed into the tens of billions of dollars and continues to grow every day.
The U.S. Senate is supposed to vote next week on a $19 billion relief package to cover Michael and other disasters, but it hasn't happened yet.
Chorus Nylander from our sister station has tonight's special investigation on the forgotten storm.
It's gone. It's gone.
An entire region ravaged, grasping for relief.
Our beautiful town is gone.
I haven't had a kitchen in 6 months.
Lanika Sanders has lived her entire life in Panama City. She saw her home nearly destroyed and, like so many others, still waiting for repairs 6 months after the storm.
My kids are displaced. They're living in another state going to school while their home is getting repaired.
In the heart of Panama City, FEMA and other federal organizations are working closely with local governments at this recovery center to help victims of the storm like Russell Romy.
It was hard with no power and no water for almost a month.
He was lucky his apartment wasn't destroyed like his neighbors, but 6 months later, he's being kicked out for needed renovation. Now left homeless.
I don't have any place to move to. I got one relative lives here. He's living in his office.
We checked. So far, the federal government has already spent more than $1 billion on recovery, $652.8 million in Bay County alone. More than 26,000 housing assistance applications have been approved at more than $115 million. The bright side, FEMA tells me 99.9% of home inspections are completed, and upwards of 21,000 people are receiving rental assistance. But costs are mounting from many angles.
We really don't know what the tab on this disaster is going to be.
Next door in the small town of Lynn Haven, the cost of cleanup efforts are larger than the entire city budget.
Our city budget is around $27 million a year, and at this point in time we are estimating our debris cost alone for just hauling our debris is going to be over $30 million. We think that we're going to survive, but it's going to be tough.
Talking with victims like Romy, it's clear the true cost goes beyond money.
Been in my home for a good long time, and I'm going to have to move someplace where I don't know anybody.
In Panama City, I'm Course Nylander reporting.
Despite all the damage, there are incredible stories of hope dotting the Florida Panhandle. We'll share one family's incredible miracle during the worst hurricane the Panhandle has ever seen. Their heartwarming story and why, even with all that devastation around them, this family is so grateful. Their story tomorrow night on NBC 15 News at 6. And a reminder, you can watch our entire special investigative series on our homepage, mynbc15.com.
NBC 15 weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Dunn, certified most accurate forecast by Weather Rate.
Oh, it was a warm one today. We hit 88 degrees. The warmer days are here to stay. The higher humidity too, especially as we get into the weekend. And we do have a weekend thunder threat pretty much focused on Sunday into Monday. 40% chance of these pop-up thunderstorms. What's left of a really nasty storm system across the Central Plains. This is Friday's severe threat level at a level 3 on the scale of 0 to 5, with 5 being the greatest threat. And then as we go into Saturday, look at that. It looks like a giant avocado, but there's a really significant severe weather threat. Dallas down to Waco and just north of Houston, Shreveport, Louisiana. This part of the storm is not heading our direction. This part of the storm will be heading up to the north. So we will get some showers and some thunderstorms, kind of the leftovers of this, but I don't see this as being a significant severe weather threat, and certainly not like we had roll through here last weekend. Storm tracker for Sunday, some showers passing through. Things really, it loses a lot of its punch by the time it gets here, but we will have some wet weather. There's green on the screen here through Monday, and then drier weather settles back in on Tuesday and Wednesday. Preliminary look at some of the numbers as far as the rain we are anticipating. A ½ inch up here to the north, Hattiesburg and Waynesboro, but down here to the south, a 1/10 of an inch or less. Perhaps up to a 1/4 of an inch in the Mobile area. We hold on to that heat, 86, 86, 87, and back up to 88 on Tuesday of next week. Our forecast highs for your Friday, almost made it to the weekend, 88 in Mobile, 84 at the Beach Gulf Shores, and 83 in Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach at 85. Here's the 7-day tracker. 88, we take it down to 86 over the weekend with that 40% chance of thunderstorms popping up here and there. The same thing for Monday, and then drier weather settles in for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week.
All right, Chris, we're going to say hello tonight to Carolyn Chapman from 8 Mile. She is our Facebook friend of the day.
Congratulations, Carolyn. You have won 2 tickets to see the Drifters, the Coasters, and the Platters all next month at Sanger Theater. So easy to be our Facebook friend of the day. All you have to do is like the page and click on the Facebook Friend of the Day tab.
The fight over free speech on college campuses now turning violent. I'm Christine Frizzau, and I'll have the details coming up. From the Terrorism Alert Desk in Washington, I'm Lindsay Mastis. As France and New Zealand leaders lead the summit against online extremism, the White House says it supports the mission but is not in a position to join the summit. The reason? Freedom of speech. In a mission to stop the spread of terrorism online, tech companies and some world leaders are joining forces in what they're calling the Christchurch Call after the March New Zealand terror attacks. Joint Iraqi counterterrorism forces carried out an operation that killed at least 9 ISIS fighters in Iraq. The forces carried out air raids in the western desert. The raids also destroyed tunnels that were used as hideouts. During the operation, weapons and explosives were also seized. From the Terrorism Alert Desk in Washington, I'm Lindsay Mastis.
NBC 15 News with Kim Anderson, Greg Peterson, and Chief Meteorologist Chris Dunn.
Well, a spotlight tonight on the question of free speech on college campuses. Some students now say their First Amendment rights are being suppressed by other students and faculty on campus.
As St. Clair National Correspondent Christine Frizzell reports, some recent incidents have been followed by violence.
Anger boiling over at the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, where students are seen dismantling a Build the Wall display on campus. Don't do that. At Texas State University, an altercation over a Make America Great Again hat taken off a student's head. Additional students got involved and 4 were arrested, with some interfering. The conservative student group Campus Reform posted videos of the incidents.
This is really a trend that we've seen on campus of students that are facing intimidation and threats based on their point of view, which typically only happens if they have a conservative or libertarian point of view.
Campus Reform has long complained of stifled speech on college campuses, from conservative professors allegedly being punished for expressing their views to conservative speakers being canceled to designated free speech zones.
You can do it great because we have a free speech area.
Yes, sir. Currently on this college campus, speech is restricted to a small free speech zone in the middle of campus, intentionally obstructed by tables and chairs placed there by the administration.
Brent Cohen with the left-leaning group Generation Progress says some view the Make America Great Again hat as a symbol of violence.
You have, again, a president in the White House who has sided with white supremacists time after time. You have the most diverse generation in history among 18 to 24-year-olds. And so when you side with violence, unfortunately what you get back in return are folks who were both hurt and hostile towards that.
This debate is taking place not just on college campuses, but here in Washington as well. Just 2 months ago, President Trump signed an executive order that would strip funding in the form of federal research grants and student aid from universities deemed hostile to free speech. On Capitol Hill, I'm Christine Frizzell.
All right, the college baseball regular season comes to an end this weekend. South Alabama finishing up with 3 games against Troy, and we've got the highlights from game 1 when we come back.
NBC 15 Sports with Lance Crawford. Sponsored by Eastern Shore Toyota.
All right, South and Troy finishing up the regular season at Stanky Field. Now the Jags just a game out of first place in the Sun Belt Conference's Eastern Division, while the Trojans just a game back of the Jags. So this series would be critical in positioning for next week's conference tournament. Game was scoreless in the third until Sal Santi Montiel crushes this 3-2 pitch deep to left center field. It's gone for a 3-run home run, and the Jags jump out to the early lead. Now, it was still 3-0 in the fourth when Wells Davis steps up for South Alabama, and he bows up and drives this one out of the yard. Davis goes 2 for 3 at the dish, including the solo bomb that made it 4-0. But wait, there's more Jags as they continue to play long ball. This time it's Dakota Daly, who hadn't homered this season, snaps that streak. Another solo blast. It was 6-0. Jags conference winning streak reaches 8 games as they roll Troy tonight, 8-2. In the SEC, Georgia handles Alabama 9-4, and LSU thumps Auburn 7-1. The state softball tournament going on up in Montgomery, and 6A Spanish Fort saw its season end as they were beaten by Brookwood 4-2 in an 11-inning marathon. While in the 5A tournament, Satsuma was eliminated, losing back-to-back games to Hayden and Sheldon County. South Alabama soccer player Brianna Morris has been selected to be part of the Sun Belt Conference's Diversity and Inclusion Summit at the league's annual meeting in Point Clear tomorrow. Morris, a rising senior, is the only student athlete on the panel. 5 Sun Belt schools will be represented, as well as the Associate Commissioner Scotty Rogers, as they discuss what the conference's schools are doing to address diversity as well as practice within the athletic department. Saw this one coming. According to an AL.com report, Auburn quarterback Malik Willis plans to transfer. Joey Gatewood and Bo Nix came out of spring practice as the 2 quarterbacks vying for the starting job. Willis backed up Jarrett Stidham the past 2 seasons, and he has decided he no longer wants to be a backup, so he's going to try to find a place to be a starter.
Yeah, with the new rules, it's tough to keep 3 good quarterbacks
No question
on the
about
roster.
it. Yes, if you can play at Auburn, you can probably find a place somewhere around the country. You'll be able to get on the field.
All right, Lance, thanks.
We're going to have another look at your 7-day forecast up next. Stay with us.
News and weather updates on your Amazon Echo or on your phone with Alexa. Download the Alexa app, click on Settings, go to Flash Briefing, click Add Content, and search for WPMI NBC 15. Select WPMI NBC 15, then click Enable.
A lot of folks heading out to the beach this weekend, so they're keeping an eye on the weather.
The Boom Boom Room will be rocking tomorrow, no doubt about it.
That's the hangout, right?
That's one of the many venues at the hangout, the Boom Boom Room.
Just to make sure. Here's your 7-day tracker. It's